Alright everyone, welcome back to Hilo Sports World once again, and since we didn't really have any UFC event this past weekend, I've decided to pick a particular topic and make this video on it. And what better way to do it other than speaking in regards to the UFC Welterweight Division. I think at this moment the UFC Welterweight Division is probably the most active it has ever been in terms of matchmaking. So yeah, without any further ado, welcome to the new video and let's get straight into it. Right, so I've listed down a few potential fights that we could expect over the course of the next few months or so. Obviously, starting off with the rumored Kamaru Usman versus Leon Edwards rematch. Dana White did confirm that Edwards will finally get his shot at the title after 9 wins in a row, even though a date is yet to be officially confirmed for the fight. And to be honest, I fully agree. I think a victory over someone like Nate Diaz should get Leon Edwards to the title shot, and he totally deserves this opportunity. So now getting down to the fight itself, without getting into too much details, I'm fairly confident that the majority of us are backing Usman to win this rematch as well. Like at this moment, I just don't see Edwards outclassing Usman in any aspect. Edwards' striking is of course brilliant, but if you go back to that fight against Bilal Muhammad, I think he looked really good in that first round in terms of his striking until that unfortunate eye poke incident. But as of right now, I just don't see Edwards causing problems to Usman in terms of striking. I'll be pretty straightforward. I just simply think that Kamaru is way better of a striker, and it's just as simple as that. I believe that there is also a big difference of power between Usman and Edwards right now, and in all fairness, I'm certainly not ruling out Usman knocking out Rocky much like he did to Jorge Masvidal in the rematch at UFC 261. So yeah, that could very well be a possibility. If you go back to that Nate Diaz fight once again, we saw what happened when Edwards got caught with that big left from Diaz, which rocked him in the closing stages of that fight. So I just think that Edwards definitely could have a hard time dealing with Kamaru striking. And as far as this fight going to the ground is concerned, once again, Usman levels above Edwards in terms of his grappling and his wrestling. I believe if he wants, he can grapple with Edwards all night long and comprehensively win this fight via decision as well. The only way I see Leon Edwards winning this fight as of right now is standing up. But like I said, he's going to have a really hard time doing that as well. But yeah, I'll obviously be talking about this fight in details once it gets confirmed and once we're set to go. For now, let's just take a look at all of Kamaru Usman's other potential title contenders. Okay, so the next fight that I've listed down is the one between Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal. Obviously, a big fight coming up at UFC 272, one of the biggest grudge matches in UFC history, and of course, both fighters getting that main event slot in Las Vegas. So yeah, it definitely is a big one on paper. But the question here is, will this fight live up to the hype when Covington and Masvidal finally get to cross paths inside that octagon? Now, the thing is, I believe that the storyline surrounding this fight might actually turn out to be better than the fight itself. The build up to this fight, the press conferences, and everything else will be definitely worth tuning in for. But I just don't think that this fight will be an all time classic like we're all hoping for. Now, I saw Chael Sonnen mention in one of his latest videos that Colby Covington has been a bit stubborn in regards to his latest fights, and I agree with him because in Covington's first fight against Usman, he decided to stand up with the champion and there were barely any wrestling exchanges and Covington eventually got himself TKO'd like we all saw. Now, in his following fight against Tyron Woodley, we saw a lot more of Covington's typical wrestling style, which he used quite nicely, and he got the TKO win while controlling the fight on the ground. Now, if Colby decides to do something similar to what he did at UFC 245 and be like, yeah, I'm going to beat Masvidal at his own game by standing up, then Colby Covington versus Jorge Masvidal is going to be a lot different than what we're all expecting it to be. However, I firmly believe that will not be the case here, and instead Colby will stick to fighting smart, and I think we will see a similar fight, much like we saw between Colby Covington and Robbie Lawler from a few years ago, when Colby absolutely dominated the fight on the ground and got the win over Lawler. And yeah, I just don't see Jorge Masvidal bringing the fight to Covington if this bout goes to the ground as well. So yeah, it's a pretty easy prediction as of right now. I think Colby Covington gets the win quite comprehensively by taking this fight to the ground, but we shall see what happens. I'll obviously do a full breakdown before UFC 272. All right, so moving on to the last top contender fight that is seemingly in the works right now, which is between number 11 ranked Khamzat Chimaev and number 2 ranked Gilbert Burns. Another big fight in the welterweight division, and presumably what is likely to be the most competitive fight out of these three fights that I just mentioned. So, according to reports, this fight is apparently on the cards for UFC 273, and without a shadow of a doubt, this will be Khamzat Chimaev's biggest fight in the UFC so far, and this will be his biggest test in the UFC until now as well. If Chimaev manages to get past Burns, there is no doubt in my mind that he should be fighting for the title after Usman versus Edwards, even though there is a possibility of Vicente Luque fighting for the belt if he beats Bilal Muhammad in the rematch. But yeah, Chimaev versus Burns is stylistically a great fight for both these guys. Both fighters are quite good on the ground. Their striking is really impressive as well. Even though I think Chimaev's striking is a level above Burns at the moment, but the one thing that I feel will prove to be the difference in this fight is Khamzat Chimaev's massive strength and his incredible power. Like, I feel many people don't realize this, but Chimaev is very, very powerful, which also makes me think that he will be a very tough task for Kamaru Usman if they ever fight each other down the road. I feel stylistically and in terms of strength, Chimaev is almost on that same level as Usman. I say almost because Chimaev still has a big task ahead of himself in the form of Burns, but yeah, if he gets past him, then I'll be pretty confident that Chimaev will be Usman's toughest test in recent years along with Colby Covington. If you compare the two of them, they have quite the similar style, much like Covington and Usman do as well. So, how is Khamzat Chimaev going to beat Gilbert Burns, and how could Burns beat Chimaev? Those two are the questions in hand right now. First of all, I think Gilbert Burns might struggle with someone like Khamzat Chimaev in terms of striking. I think Chimaev will cause him a lot of troubles in that department. But I do believe that Chimaev will look to take this fight to the ground and look for a finish via ground and pound. As for Gilbert Burns, I think the only way he could win this fight is by using his grappling and his BJJ skills. But like that is the only edge I feel Burns could have over Shimaev right now. I mean, he is a high level grappler after all. And to be very honest with you, I think that this fight will look a lot similar to what we saw between Usman and Burns. Burns' striking is really good, but like we all saw in that fight, it's not up to the level of Usman just yet. And I feel that's what we're going to witness when he faces Shimaev later this year. As for Khamzat, he can do it all. He can beat you on the ground, he can submit you, and if you're going to stand up with him, you might have a very tough time dealing with his striking as well. So yeah, as for early predictions right now regarding these three fights, I have Usman, Covington, Shimaev winning their respective fights, and if Usman gets past Edwards, I feel Khamzat Chimaev has to be the next one in line for a title shot, maybe followed by Vicente Luque. Whereas as for Colby Covington, I think he would probably need another big win before fighting for the belt again. So yeah, that's it for this UFC welterweight division video. For now, that's it for this video. We do have a UFC card this weekend, UFC Vegas 47, headlined by Jack Hermanson and Sean Strickland. Should be a great middleweight fight. And thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.